Welcome back, everyone. This is the 15th session of Prevent T2, the CDC's Lifestyle Change Program. Today, we are going to talk about how to eat well when you are away from home. And just our housekeeping is that the CDC guidelines require that participants have direct interaction with their lifestyle coach each session. So that means that after this recording, please contact your lifestyle coach to schedule a short call to review this session. All right, let's check out the objectives. So eating well when you're at home can be hard enough, but eating well when you're away from home presents special challenges. Today we will talk about some challenges of eating well at restaurants and social events. We are also talking about how to plan for and cope with these challenges. And finally, you will make a new action plan.
Okay, so it can be challenging to eat well at restaurants, and we'll look at the example in Jose's story. So let me pull that up for you guys. All right, so I'm just going to read the first two paragraphs of Jose's story for us. So Jose's doctor tells him that he's at risk for type 2 diabetes, so he needs to change the way he eats. Jose has a healthy breakfast and dinner at home each day, but lunches are another story. Jose is a building contractor. During the day, he's always on the go from one job site to another. He gets his lunch at a fast food drive-thru. He usually has a burger, fries, and soda. Okay, so maybe you can relate to some of these things in Jose's story. And our question for you is, what do you find challenging about eating well at restaurants? And I'll get back to our PowerPoint here. So again, we saw with Jose's story, he's working and he ends up going to a restaurant for lunch. It's usually the burgers and fries. So some other challenges at a restaurant could include large portions. So maybe you can't, or you feel like you don't have control over the portion size you receive. You might feel that there are no healthy choices, or you don't know the ingredients or how the food was made. You might be tempted by the food, or you want to be polite and not kind of, adapt your order or ask for substitutions or anything like that. And then also wanting to get your money's worth. So maybe you're at a buffet, or you do get large portions. You don't want to waste that because you spent money on it. So those are just some of the challenges that you might encounter while eating at a restaurant. So I'll pass it to Sharon to walk us through how to eat well at restaurants.
Thanks, Angie. So yeah, as you see, there's a lot of challenges of eating well at restaurants. So now let's talk about how to plan for and cope with these challenges. So the first thing is to choose a restaurant wisely. So that means, if you're going to go to a place like McDonald's or Jack in the Box, getting good choices is going to be much more challenging than if you went to some place like Ellie's Mutt Hut or a place that had a salad bar, something like that. So how do you choose a restaurant wisely? Well, one idea is to look at the menu in advance. So where can you find that menu? You may be able to find it online. Most restaurants do have online menus. Also, a lot of them, if you're ever walking around town, they a lot of times will have the menu posted on the outside, or you can go in and ask for a to-go menu just to have. And the next thing is, what types of food will you be looking for on the menu? So this goes back to one of our first lessons about kind of the foundation of this program in terms of what a healthy diet is. And there were a few things. First, we want foods that are low in calories, fat, and sugar. And then we also want things that are high in fiber. and water and vitamins and minerals and protein. So let's look at some menus right now. I'm gonna have Angie pull up, what we decided we're gonna look at is Panda Express, since that's the new kid on the block in town. And their menu is pretty easy to navigate. So we're just gonna go through how, if you're trying to think of all these things, low in calories, fat, sugar, high in fiber, water, vitamins, minerals, and protein. I mean, that's a lot. But how are we going to actually do that in at a place like Panda Express? So what I love about this is that they kind of go a step-by-step process here. So the first thing to notice is you've got three options. You've got a bowl, a plate, and a bigger plate. And so first thing to ask yourself is, how hungry are you? Is this going to be just, if you're trying to watch your portion sizes, or this is your one meal of the day because you don't have any other time to eat? So really think about what is going to work for you. So I'm going to choose the bowl, because I know that when I've eaten here, that bowl is actually a lot of food. And so I want to see if I can take this bowl and make it healthy. So I'm going to choose the bowl. I'm going to click that first. All right, now I've got some sides. And this is the cool thing about here, is you get the calories too. And so you see the chow mein and the fried rice are really pretty much the same in terms of calories, and that amount of calories, 510 and 520, is really a substantial amount. And then if you go to the white steamed rice, that is still pretty high. And if you're watching, for diabetes, this is a lot of carbohydrate, simple carbohydrate that's probably not such a great idea. So I guess what I would do is I would choose the super greens, because this hits a few of those things. It's low in calories, fat, and sugar. Actually, it's everything. It's high in fiber, it's high in water, it's high in vitamins and minerals. The only thing it's not high in is protein. So we'll add that later. So let's do the super greens. All right, let's look at step 2. So here's where we're going to pick our protein. And so they've got different kinds of chicken and then one steak. And you think, well, I don't know how that's cooked. But the main thing to look at here is the calories. So you see, going from left to right, we've got 170 calories, 490 calories, 180 calories, and then 490. So I would go to, and then there's more here. Thank you, Angie. And then we got the grilled teriyaki chicken, the broccoli and beef, and the honey walnut shrimp, and the kung pao. Is there more too? Oh my goodness, we got a lot here. And then we've got mushroom chicken, sweet fire chicken breast. So there's a lot. String bean chicken. And we can go for more super greens, but I think that'll be a little overkill. So I am going to choose, let's see, scroll back up. Keep going, one more. I'm going to choose the firecracker chicken breast. Why? Because it's lower in calories. I mean, I could also choose that black pepper Angus steak. But the other thing I like about both of those is they have some other vegetables in there. They've got some more color. And as you've learned, color is a big thing about getting different vitamins and minerals. If you just get all green, you're getting certain ones, but those red ones bring in other ones too. So let's go with the firecracker chicken for now. Okay, what's next, Angie?
Sharon, I also want to point out some of these have little icons. So we see this green Walk Smart icon. Do you know what that means? Or maybe can you speak to looking for some of these icons on menus?
Yeah, I think what these sometimes mean is that they are probably, they're using much less fat to cook them. They also could be watching the sodium, perhaps. The problem with some place like Panda Express, if you're watching sodium, all this food tends to be pre-made, so you're pretty much stuck with it. You can't ask for them to put less soy sauce on it, but you certainly can, not add additional. So that's what I'm thinking, because if you look at the other ones, they like the honey walnut shrimp, that is deep fried, and so that doesn't get the green walk approval sign.
Okay, so maybe this is an example of something to look at in a menu is sometimes they tell you which things might be a little lower in calories or cooked in a different way that could be healthier. So that's something to keep in mind too.
Right. Okay. And I guess that's it. And then you just basically add your order and then we're set to go. So one thing I would keep in mind is if you are going to have something from Panda Express is, they tend to be pretty high in sodium, like I said, so I would not ask for additional soy sauce. I would also kind of think about that's your high sodium meal for the day. So at dinner, I wouldn't have a bowl of soup or, nosh on some pickles or something like that. So you can use it. So think about what I did in coming up with those decisions. I had in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about, okay, where are the calories, the fat, the sugar, and those are the things I want to watch if I want to lose weight. So really discerning from the items that you have there, and you can do this with any menu. So let's kind of look at some, you might not know looking at it. So let's look at some clue words that might suggest an item is healthy. And that might be things like baked, broiled, low fat, or steamed, as opposed to fried or deep fried. Okay. The other thing you could do is if you are going to a restaurant, which we're not doing much right now at this recording, but when you do, being assertive and asking the server questions. And questions could be things like, how is this made? What ingredients are in this? What kind of oil is this cooked in? One question not a question, but one request I typically make is I say, can you have them hold the salt in the preparation if it's something they're cooking from scratch? 9 times out of 10, chefs, they're very generous with the salt shaker. And if you order it without it, sure, it's going to taste bland, but then you add the salt yourself, and most times you're going to put on less than they would. So it's a great way to be in control of that. You could also ask for a healthy swap. So, for example, there might be something like, let's say there's some chicken and they said, okay, this comes with potatoes or rice, and then we also do a salad or some steamed broccoli or green beans. And you could say, well, hey, I really like the chicken, but can I swap instead of the rice or potatoes, can I have a salad and the green beans? And there you've just kind of hit those things. You've cut the calories, you've increased your vitamins and minerals, you've just kind of really hit all those things. So that would be another option to do. You can also ask, can I have, like, let's say it comes sauteed. You say, can I have that baked, steamed, broiled, or grilled instead of sauteed or fried? You can also, if it comes with a dressing, you can ask for that dressing, sauce, gravy, sour cream, or butter, whatever it is. Ask for it on the side. And then when you're eating it, one technique, a little tip is you kind of dip your fork in whatever that sauce is, and then you whatever bite it is you're eating, whether it's salad or chicken or whatever. That way you're getting a little bit of the dressing, but you're getting dressing with your food rather than food with your dressing. Then if also you can ask if whatever it is, if they say, well, we cook this in butter, to say, well, can you cook it in vegetable oil instead? So again, this is more for restaurants that are kind of preparing to order versus things that are pre-cooked. So, so this is kind of putting on that assertive hat and knowing that this is okay. Restaurants expect this. And as long as you're not just totally changing what they're offering, because they want you back. And they want to make sure that, they're able to accommodate you and so that in all your dietary needs. Okay, so in addition to finding out if an item is healthy, you want to make sure that you have a healthy amount of food. Many restaurants serve huge portions. Plus, there may be times when you want a tiny portion of an item that is fairly high in calories. So to make sure you have a healthy amount of food, you can ask, can I get the smallest size of this item? Can I have an appetizer instead of a main course? Can my friend and I share this item? And then the other thing you can always say is when you bring my food, can you also bring a to-go container? And that way, when something shows up and it's a very large portion, you've got that to-go container right there before you take the first bite. You can put in there what you feel is what you're, not going to eat, and save it for later. Because 9 times out of 10, if that's sitting on your plate, you're probably going to kind of start nibbling at it. And so if it's put away, there's less chance of doing that. Plus, you got a whole nother meal to look forward to. Right,
Okay.
Andy?
So now that we talked about how to eat well at restaurants, we'll transition into talking about social events. So what might some social events be that would involve food? So here we have listed cookouts or barbecues, holidays, whether that's gathering with friends, gathering with families, maybe bridal showers or baby showers, sporting events or sporting games like the Super Bowl. It could be weddings, other celebrations, birthday parties, could also be work parties. And so we're going to talk about how it can be challenging to eat well at these events. And just to provide an example, we'll go back to Jose's story and finish reading that. Okay, so I already read the first 2 paragraphs, so I'll finish us off here. So Jose loves getting together with his family, but he finds it hard to eat well at these events. He has trouble finding healthy choices, and his mother always pushes her empanadas on him. He doesn't want to hurt her feelings, so he takes just one. Jose decides to make better choices when he eats away from home. He tries to pack a healthy lunch the night before. If he buys his lunch, he orders a turkey sandwich with a side salad. Instead of drinking soda, he now drinks water. Jose is also getting better at saying no thank you to his mother's empanadas. Okay, so we see here some of the changes he made. He went from, his burgers, fries, soda, to getting a turkey sandwich with a side salad and drinking water. And kind of learning when he's at social events with his family, he's able to set that boundary for himself and say no thank you to his mother's empanadas. So those are great steps. And so what else do we find challenging about eating well at social events? Here we have listed, again, just like at restaurants, you might have large portions, or there might not be healthy choices. Again, you don't know the ingredients or how the food was made. You might have pressure from others, just like Jose was pressured by his mother. Food might be tempting. You want to be polite, or you want to join in and not be that person that's not partaking in what everyone else is. So, how do we eat well at these social events? So there are things you can do before the social events to help you stay on track. So what might that be? How could you prepare for these social events knowing that the food might be an issue for you? So before you go, you could have a healthy snack at home so you won't be as hungry. You could tell the host about your eating plan. And then you could also ask if you can bring something healthy. So a lot of these family events or friends' parties, maybe it's kind of a potluck where everyone's bringing something. So making sure that you bring a dish that feels healthy for you, something that you're able to eat. Make sure that you won't be there without something that you can go for. And oftentimes just explaining your situation to your family and friends, like we've talked about in previous classes on getting support. That's a really important piece about just explaining to your host that it's not an insult to them or their food, but what you're trying to do right now in your health journey is really important. So explaining this can get them to be on your side and I guess give you some comfort and not make you as uncomfortable to be at some of these events. So then the next piece, how could you eat well during the social events? So say you're there, so what do? You could ask people about the ingredients or how the dish was prepared. You could fill up on non-starchy veggies or broth-based soup. So again, find the healthy options on the table and go for those. You don't have to necessarily eat everything or try something of everything. And then also keeping a glass of water in your hand. That's always really helpful, especially if you're with folks that are trying to pressure you to drink or trying to make sure that you have something. If your hands are empty, people often come up to you and say, oh, can I get you something? Oh, do you want a glass of this? Or, oh, can I get you a piece of cake? Whatever it might be. So having something in your hand, like a glass of water, can help it look like you have what you need and they don't need to offer you anything, because they're really just trying to be a good host and they're not trying to sabotage your progress. But yeah, so having that glass of water can be really helpful. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I thought of that we could just to say on that, I know when a lot of times there's social events, the food is like on a table and it's easy to gravitate and stand and talk to somebody right where the food is. But think of it as a strategy is to move away from the food and just maybe grab a plate of food and then kind of move to another space to talk to people, and then you won't be tempted.
That's a great point.
Between now and our next session, we'd like you to spend some time planning for the challenges of eating away from home. That way, you'll be ready the next time you go to a restaurant or a social event, or just ordering out, if you're just taking something to bring home. So we have a couple of, in your participant guide, we have some resources which basically summarize the points that we were both making earlier. Eat Well at Restaurants is on page 4 and 5, and Eat Well at Social Events is on page 6, and those can help you out too.
So of course, we've come to the point in the session where you get to write your action plan. So again, remember to keep your action plan realistic, doable, specific, and flexible. And maybe try to incorporate some of the things you learned today. So maybe think about some social events or eating out that you might encounter over the next week and try to make an action plan on that. Maybe you work in a work environment where there might be, snacks or candy put out, and maybe your goal is to maybe stop eating the food that's offered, and maybe you bring in your own snacks. Maybe you cut up some veggies and have those ready to bring in for the week, knowing that you'll have that option and not give in to the options presented to you. So again, we encourage you to take advantage of writing these action plans and have those help to kind of guide you through this next week. And we'll, of course, ask you how it went when we see you next.
All right, so we've come to the end of our meeting. Today we discussed how to eat well when you're away from home. We talked about some challenges of eating well at restaurants and social events. We also talked about how to plan for and cope with these challenges. So things to try at home are to plan for these challenges and do your action plan. And as I said at the beginning, you'll need to have direct interaction with your lifestyle coach. So please, after you've done your action plan, please call Angie or I, and just to kind of go over that and just anything you've learned from this lesson, then you're done. Oh yes, and also we'll also need to collect your weight and your physical activity minutes for the week. So thank you for attending today, and we'll see you next time.